Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing a fairly short video going through mostly some library books I got recently for my February-March TBR pile of possibilities, and as well as one book which I own. I wish I wouldn't have had to spend money on this or read it at all because I DNF'd it last time around, like 8, 9, whatever years ago, but I'm taking one for the team. I've already done one video in a series about everything wrong with this crappy book, Almost Lost, by the late fraud Beatrice Sparks. She was not a PhD, not a psychologist, did not have any type of college degree at all, not even an associate's degree, and she probably didn't even have any kind of certificate either. And it just makes me mad how she got away with this fraud for so long. And this book is even worse than her usual because she strayed from her winning, so to speak, formula of a fake journal, and she did a pretended case study, and it's like almost nothing but talking heads, just dialogue after dialogue after dialogue, and every so often she'll insert some images, like quizzes to do at home. And she had such an insulting, wrong grasp of depression. As someone who suffers myself with cyclical depression, it just makes me so angry. She thought, oh, you can just easily overcome depression with positudes, and she keeps calling positive attitudes, and oh, the positive power of positive thinking in all caps. And if she actually, I know this is going out on a limb, but giving her the benefit of the doubt, maybe she really did have an uncredentialed youth counseling practice of some kind, because she was a Mormon, and Mormons love callings, as they call it, particularly because people they don't really have a lot of time for a personal life outside of the church, and endless callings is one of those ways to keep people family home evening, and visiting teachers and home teachers, and 10 callings a week. But anyway, if she actually behaved with, presumably she had real teenagers she was counseling in some level, the way she behaves in this book, she's depicting herself as she's one of the main characters. It really worries me. Was she massaging underage boys in her psych practice? Not psych practice, or uncredentialed practice. Was she using such unprofessional language with them, and telling them, oh, forget about PTSD, that doesn't exist, just dump the whole load of gagging garbage in the past, don't wallow in ugly things, you can easily overcome depression with the positive power of positive thinking, in all caps, and just oh, negative thoughts drag you down, you don't need medication. And people made her, apparently lawyers made her insert a disclaimer in the back saying, oh, this book doesn't deal with these more serious issues. Those might need medication, and referral to her pretended trusted colleagues. It's just, and the doctor who endorses this crap in the front matter, he wasn't a real doctor, as Rick Emerson unearthed in Unmasked Alice. She made up all of her fake doctors. They all have stereotypically Jewish names, which what's that saying about what she thought about us? And the doctor even uses the same unprofessional slang, and he closes it with, love you, Sammy. Oh, that's so professional. And oh, that's also calling back to Go Ask Alice. That was one of Alice's pet phrases she liked to overuse. And I was just browsing the stacks to look for some historical that might pop up. I thought this looked interesting. The author Jill Eileen Smith, her whole thing, I don't think she's strayed from this, from what I saw on Goodreads and Amazon. All of her books are historical fiction about women from the Bible, and of course that they're because women, unfortunately, they just weren't written about a lot in old societies, and in the Bible particularly, so you have a lot of room to fill in the blanks. And this is Christian fiction. I'm obviously not Christian myself, but I really enjoyed the Kara Lynn James, I believe her name was. I forgot her name, but I do think that is her name. A few years ago, I really, really loved her Ladies of Summerhill series. Set in Newport, Rhode Island in 1899, 1900, and 1901. It's one of those series where it's not a continuing a story, but their characters are all linked because they stay by the same summer house, and some of them briefly interact with one another in the successive books. And I really like that, and I thought maybe that would be fun to see some more Christian historical fiction, and the Bible, and these women giving them back voice and stuff. But of course, being Jewish, there are some things in these books, just skimming through, that a little bit contradictory. Of the first and foremost, Christians use a different translation of the Bible, and that also means they'll frequently use different transliterations. For this is about the character name, her name is Rahav in Hebrew, but the Christian pronunciation or transliteration is Rahab. And we do not use the real name of God outside of prayer and reading the Torah, particularly not the Tetragrammaton. That was only spoken once a year by the high priest on Yom Kippur when he went into the Holy of Holies in the temple, and he went in there with a rope around his waist. So, like, if he, God forbid, died in there, like, well, pronouncing the ineffable name, like one of the other priests or temple workers could pull him out so they wouldn't encroach into the Holy of Holies themselves. And always, like, I mean, I know their custom isn't my custom. I'm not trying to force, like, my beliefs onto them, like, God forbid, but it just kind of always, like, shocks me when I see, like, the Tetragrammaton, Yud-He, Vav-He, like, attempted to be, like, transliterated in either, like, speech or in writing, because that's just not our custom at all. But, anyway, this just looked like a really, like, interesting, fun story. I'll read the synopsis on the back. Wife to a gambler who took one too many risks. Rahab finds herself sold as a slave to cover her husband's debt. Forced into prostitution, she despairs of ever regaining her freedom and her self-respect. But when Israelite spies enter Jericho and come to lodge at her house, Rahab sees a glimmer of hope and the opportunity of a lifetime. In one risky moment, she takes a leap of faith, puts her trust in a God she does not know, and vows to protect the spies from the authorities. When the armies of Israel arrive weeks later, Rahab hopes they will keep their promise, but she has no idea what kind of challenges await her outside Jericho's walls, or if she will ever know the meaning of love. In the next book in this series, she has several different, like, series. This is like, what is it, Daughters of the Promised Land, and, like, she has books about, like, Eve, and then there's also a book about Ruth in this series, and I believe she does one about Hannah, and just a whole, like, Devorah. This is the book about Devorah, and she has, like, a whole bunch of books about other women from the Bible, like, like Miriam and all sorts of fun stuff. And if I like the books, of course, I will check out some of her other ones. And this is Deborah. Her name in Hebrew is Devorah, but, obviously the more familiar English form of the name is Deborah. Deborah will never forget the day her father and brothers left to worship at the Lord's tabernacle, or the wails of her mother after finding their bodies at the city gates. The memories of Canaan's cruelty haunt her and all of Israel. Now in this dark time, the Lord calls on Deborah to lead his people away from the idols of other nations and back to him. Deborah never asked to be a prophetess or a judge over God's people. Still, she cannot deny his voice or the visions that accompany it. Can her family ever understand? Will her people believe God's calling on her life? And can the Canaanite menace be stopped? And there was another, transliteration in this book that is different from the Jewish way. The name Yael is spelled Jael in this book, again, because, like, we use different translations of the Bible. Like, ours is, like, translated directly from the Hebrew. Most modern Christian Bibles, as far as, like, I'm aware of, they tend to come from the Latin version of the Bible and the Greek version, so they're not, like, directly from the Hebrew. A lot gets lost in, like, the different versions. But anyway, this is how many more? Like 3 more books. I thought this was going to be her memoir, but it's a slightly different book she has written. Like, nothing wrong with that. For, like, whatever reason, I was just watching on YouTube recently. Oh yeah, I was inspired because I saw the Elizabeth Smart story. It was a TV movie from 2006 or something like that. There's since been, like, a longer, like, movie about her life and her, like, horrible ordeal and how she, came back from it. And so I started watching a bunch of, like, things on YouTube, like, the news stories and the interview, like, it was almost 2 hours long or so with the creep who did this to her. It's like, I mean, a lot of people in the comments were saying the same thing. Like, he did horrible, horrible things, but, like, the way these two, like, detectives, cops are interviewing him, it's, like, unintentionally entertaining at some level. They're just, like, turning his stuff back on him, like he's saying, oh, I'm going to heaven, I'm perfect. Oh, if heaven is filled with people like you, I'd prefer to go to hell. Or, like, well, when Christ was confronted by the Romans, did he tell them his name was Mike Johnson? How many times did Christ get pulled over on a DUI? Like, just like a total creep, and just this weird stuff he's saying, trying to, like, justify it. Like, at one point he even started singing a Mormon hymn, and just, he did not give a direct answer to any of their questions at all. It was just, oh, the Lord delivered her to me. Did the Lord levitate her out of her house into your encampment in the woods? Like, oh, the Lord told me she was 18. It's just, wow, I'm so glad this creep is behind bars forever. Here's the synopsis. In her fearless memoir, Elizabeth detailed, for the first time, the horror behind the headlines of her abduction by religious fanatic Brian David Mitchell and his wife, Wanda Barzee. Since then, she's married, become a mother, and traveled the world as the president of the Elizabeth Smart Foundation, sharing her story with the intent of helping others along the way. Over and over, Elizabeth is asked the same question: how do you find the hope to go on? In this book, Elizabeth returns to the horrific experiences she endured and the hard-won lessons she learned. To provide answers, she also calls upon others who have dealt with adversity, victims of violence, disease, war, and loss, to explore the pathways towards hope. Through conversations with such well-known voices as Anne Romney, Diane von Furstenberg, and Mandy Patinkin, to spiritual leaders Archbishop John C. Webster and Elder Richard Hinckley of Mormonism, to her own parents, Elizabeth uncovers an even greater sense of solace and understanding. And her parents have since divorced. Her father came out as gay. This happened a number of years ago, but I had just heard about it when I was looking through these videos. Wow, that was an unexpected turn. Where there's hope is the result of Elizabeth's mission. It is both an up-close and personal glimpse into her healing process and a heartfelt how-to guide for readers looking to make peace with the past and embrace the future. And there are two more books. This was, I think, on one of the displays. They have themes throughout the year in the library in different sections. I'm not sure of the technical term for it's kind of like a flat shelf, so it's not like the traditional bookshelf. It's kind of like the magazine rack thing, only smaller, and it only has room for 2 or 3 books on it. And for example, biographies A to Z, we're going through that throughout the year, different parts of the world, or how to red your house up, have more minimalism in the new year, food themes with cookbooks, or just battling depression, raising children in the computer age, just interesting things like that. So this might have been about World War II or one, I'm sorry, women or something like that. And I obviously, known a little bit about this story, these women who went overseas to be call operators, particularly because they could, speak French. This is the story of how America's first women soldiers helped win World War I, earned the vote, and fought the U.S. Army. In 1918, the U.S. Army Signal Corps sent 223 women to France. They were masters of the latest technology. The telephone switchboard. General John Pershing, commander of the American Expeditionary Forces, demanded female wire experts when he discovered that inexperienced doughboys were unable to keep him connected with troops under fire. Without communications for even an hour, the army would collapse. While suffragettes picketed the White House, actually they were suffragists in the U.S., suffragettes were in the U.K., and President Woodrow Wilson struggled to persuade a segregationist Congress to give women of all races the vote. These competent and courageous young women swore the Army oath. Elizabeth Cobbs reveals the challenges they faced in a war zone where male soldiers welcomed, resented, wooed, mocked, saluted, and ultimately celebrated them. They received a baptism by fire when German troops pounded Paris with heavy artillery. Some followed Blackjack Pershing to battlefields where they served through shelling and bombardment. Grace Banker, their 25-year-old leader, won the Distinguished Service Medal. The Army discharged the last Hello Girls in 1920, the same year Congress ratified the 19th Amendment, granting the ballot. When the operators sailed home, the Army unexpectedly dismissed them without veterans' benefits. Yeah, that's not a new story. They did similar things to other minority groups, for example, on black soldiers coming home after World War II. They did not get any of the benefits of the GI Bill, unfortunately. They began a 60-year battle that a handful of survivors carried to triumph in 1979, the year I was born. With the help of the National Organization for Women, which is kind of jumped the shark in recent years, but obviously that's a whole off-topic thing for another video, Senator Barry Goldwater and a crusading Seattle attorney, they triumphed over the U.S. Army. And this is the last book. I could not resist this when I saw it in the new books, just the title and the topic and the fun cover, Go to Hell, A Traveler's Guide to Earth's Most Otherworldly Destination. A one-of-a-kind travel guide gives people, that's covered up slightly by the sticker, but I can read enough, gives readers or guides, I hate when they cover this up, guides people with the chance, I'm guessing that's what that says, to cross through legendary portals to hell, explore otherworldly landscapes, and visit places that have inspired visions of hell on earth, and more than 50 surprising destinations. With wit and a sense of adventure, science writer Erika Engelhaupt, your new Virgil, guides you to the real world's most diabolical places, including Hell, Michigan, full of devilish charm, and the chance to be mayor of hell for the day. That's the mayor of hell is one of the films by my favorite male actor of the sound era, James Cagney. I wonder how similar the move or the position for that day is to the movie. Maya underground pools, or cenotes in Mexico, long viewed as pathways to the spirit world. The seven gates of Guinea in Guinea, G-U-I-N-E-E, and it might be a French pronunciation I'm mangling, in New Orleans, Louisiana, voodoo pathways to the underworld found in cemeteries across the French Quarter. I'm so long overdue to go to New Orleans and take one of their famous ghost tours. That city is one of the most haunted in America, so many haunted cemeteries and old houses, just the whole spirit of the city. Huska Castle, or maybe it's Hushka, in Czechia. I know that's the modern thing. A lot of people are saying Czechia instead of the Czech Republic. Built over a hole to hell to keep demonic creatures from crossing into our earthly plane, and many more. Filled with fascinating facts, lore, and legends drawn from the world's cultures and religions, plus heaven-sent travel chips for getting an earthly glimpse of the underworld for yourself. This divine handbook will leave you dying to visit each of these hellish destinations. And the best part, you can still send a postcard. It's awesome. Let's see that more. Oh, this is a fun landscape. That looks very hellish. Ethiopia's Afar region is home to both the cradle of humankind and a fiery lake of lava, spurning some to call it the hellhole of creation. For Jay, who has gone with me to hell and back. Oh, fun. Portals to the underworld, hells on earth, otherworldly destination by location. Oh, it's really St. Patrick's Purgatory in Ireland, Cave of the Sibyl, Italy, Seven Gates of Hell, Pennsylvania, Messiah Volcano, Nicaragua, Well of Hell in Yemen, although of course it's not really safe to go to Yemen these days for obvious reasons. Gates of Hell, Turkmenistan, Hell, Michigan, the world's rare lakes of fire, Naples, Italy, the Pompeii, obviously, and Herculaneum, Waimangu Volcanic Valley, New Zealand, Yellowstone, Danakil Depression in Erta, Ale, Ethiopia, Blood Falls, Antarctica, awesome, Boiling River, Peru, Vengdu Ghost City, China, Bracken Cave, Texas, Lake Natron, Tanzania, Deception Island, Antarctica, Cave of the Crystals, Mexico, Skull Rock, Victoria, Australia. This is going to be so fun. Oh, and a skull. I love, the macabre, Halloween, Dia de los Muertos, paranormal, occult, just really death, just fun stuff like that. Why should we fear it? It's just so fun and cool. I just so many people, oh, that's scary, or that's Satan worship. I can't believe people still actually believe in demonic possession, literal witches, not the religious type of neo-pagans, but actual medieval, you were a witch, goody Jones. I saw Goody Smith with the devil, that. I can't believe people actually still literally believe in witchcraft and demonic possession and stuff like that. But just the conception of hell and fun stuff, take the fear out of it. It's just something fun and cool. So thank you guys very much for watching all the way through to the end. Please leave me a comment. Hopefully I can start getting out of arrears with getting back to my comments over the last month or so, whatever. I've been busy with my writing and my transcription for National Archives, but thanks again for watching, and I will see you very soon. Bye.